Welcome to another episode of Kent Hance, the best storyteller in Texas podcast. We'll start this episode like we have every other one of them with a saying of the day. Chancellor, what do you have?
Saying of the day is appropriate for this time. War is hell. Mm-hmm. And you look at what's happened in Ukraine, in Russia, and the number of people that have been killed. And it just is senseless, but Russia invaded Ukraine, and they're trying to stop them. And that was a war that the Russians, especially Putin, thought was going to last a week or less. Mm-hmm. And it's now in years that people look at it. But in our own situation in the United States, we're in a confrontation with Iran. And the Iranians are making some stupid statements. They should have gone back and talked to Maduro in Venezuela that kept telling Trump, you're stupid and you can't do anything, and they might have learned something there. But they've called for all kinds of things, and the U.S. is putting some heat on them by sanctions. They're having economic crisis, but they had, you go back to January 13th, and they had a lot of uprising, and they killed a lot of people. The Iranian government killed their own people when they had the uprising to stop it. Most governments are more afraid of internal opposition than they are foreign powers. The Chinese, they're more concerned about what happens in China internally, that all of a sudden the people may rise up and do something about it. In Iran, in the 50s, early 50s, the U.S. government through the CIA helped overthrow the people in power in Iran, and they had the Shah of Iran was the supreme leader, and he kept that until 79, and when he lost. And a lot of the people that in Iran at the time were just professors and students, and they didn't like the Shah of Iran. He didn't allow them freedom to criticize the government and everything. And so they worked with the Ayatollahs and the religious people within the Muslim community, and they overthrew him. And within a matter of weeks, they realized that it was going to be worse, and they were going to lose freedoms of what they might wear or where they might go or something like that, and they did. And it's you lose the power to make any type of free speech or anything. It just stuns you. And so there's been a population of almost 50 years that the people in Iran, that, you got to be at least 60 or 70 before you realize what it was like under the Shah. Different people have different issues, and in the Middle East, there's so many split up. You take that when United States moved in and removed Saddam Hussein, they had to look out for the Kurds. And the Kurds, that's the largest number of population in the world that does not have a state. And you've got Kurdistan in Iraq and Iran and Turkey. They've got about 31 million people population-wise, the Kurds do, which is about the size of Texas population-wise. And 14 million of the 31 are in Turkey. And then the next group, largest group, is in Iran. The next one's in Iraq. And the United States got involved during that war, and they situated the fighter planes for a no-fly zone in the northern part of Iraq that was made up of Kurds. And so they had a shoot-down policy if you were trying to fly in there, and it kept the Iraqis from bombing the Kurds. And the Kurds, they finally worked out an agreement. The Kurds get 15% of the oil money. And that area is booming now. But they still don't have their own nation state. And I don't see that turning around. But their economy is doing well. And they have a limited success because they have the U.S. protecting them. And that's not something you read about on a daily basis. It just goes on, but that's been happening for, many years now, and it's been to their protection. But going back to the real issue of the Iranians, if they push Trump long enough, he's liable to do something to him. And he's moved the Abraham Lincoln and the Gerald Ford, 2 aircraft carriers, and all the boats that go with them. He's moved them to that area. If you look at the oil coming out of the Persian Gulf, that the Strait of Hormuz is like 20 miles wide, and that's kind of a bottleneck. And the Iranians, feel like they could bottle up oil there. I don't know if they could, but all that's happening is on the verge of having oil prices go up dramatically and prices increase at the pump. But this is something to really be watched over the next few weeks, because the President Trump's given a certain number of days to respond, and people that doubt the economic power of the United States, are not being realistic. When we put sanctions on someone and they cannot trade with other groups, it makes it very difficult for them to have success in their economy. Under stupid criminals, we had a guy in Montana. This is really good. The guy called the police. He got a ticket for having an open container. He had a beer can. It's open front seat. He got a ticket, and he wanted to know about paying for it and what is it going to cost. They said, well, there was a JP there at the police station, so he could come down. And he came down. They said, be sure and come by and say hi, and because they suspected that he might be drinking. And they arrested him. They asked him, did you drive down here? And he said, yes. They arrested him, and the percent on a breath test is 0.8. He scored a 2.4. So he was 3 times drunk, and they arrested him for DUI or DWI while he was there trying to pay a ticket on an open container. And you just think, was he just stupid and drunk or just drunk?
Right.
He was at least one of the two. And so he was really in bad shape. Another thing on stupid criminals, there's a couple got in a fight on Valentine's Day. You're not supposed to have fights on Valentine's Day. Try to be nice on Valentine's Day. And the guy hit his wife in the head with a spicy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. And the police came, and they wound up arresting the guy. And he had thrown blue Powerade at her, and she had on a certain dress and was really upset about that. But you think about your problems, you think about someone like that is just a little touch, to say the least. We also had in Taiwan, a woman got 3 months in prison. She had a megaphone, and she didn't like her neighbors. And so she'd start cussing them out on the megaphone, and sometimes at 1 or 2 in the morning. And so that they arrested her and warned her and let her go home. And as soon as she got home, she got after them again. And blasting profanity is not going to be easy. And in Taiwan, they got her quickly. Also, we had a case where a guy was smuggling reptiles out of Australia, and he got 8 years. And what he was doing was, endangered species, and sending snakes to different places. And I don't, a guy sends me a snake, I'm not going to be happy with him. But these were people that were buying them, and he was selling them illegally. And that's just it falls under stupid criminals, to say the least. And one other stupid criminal I want to mention, there was a woman that worked for the State Department of Transportation in New York, and she stole 10,000 tons of asphalt. And usually if if you had stolen 10,000 tons of anything, it would be a major crime. But hers, I think she wound up getting off and having a situation where she was able to get out for probation, 10,000 tons of asphalt. Also, there was a survey that had things to do and things not to do if you want to get invited back to spend some time with people. That's talking about going to visit some people and spending the night with them. And, I think 1 or 2 nights is okay, maybe 3. That's pushing. But, if you got any money at all, get a hotel room so you got some privacy and they have some privacy. But it said one of the things you need to do is make sure that you leave things as good as you found them, and that's not always easy to do. And
my mother used to always say, having company is like fish. After 3 days, it stinks.
Yeah, it does. Scammers. A lot of people talking about scammers. Said 46% of the people get one scam a day. I'm in that 46. I mean, I get numerous, and you can hear them, and it's artificial intelligence driven, and they've gotten better and better at it. And they start, no matter what you tell them, they start with a conversation that doesn't make sense. Many times, if you say, I'm not interested, please don't ever call me back. Good, we're having a good date also. No, look, stupid, I told you. 23% of the population that had been contacted by scammers have lost money on something they send. I never give over the phone. I don't, somebody can send me a letter, I might give, but so many, the police association or the sheriff's association or the Committee Against Cancer for Children, or they all have good names, and that they call you and want you to sign up for something. Well, I don't participate in those. Sign that you're getting old, and this, I think this is important. If you're talking to your friends and all y'all talk about is health and aches and pains and everything, you're getting old. And I've got friends that boy, they give you an update. It's just like they came straight from the doctor's office and want to tell you everything. And, and I'm sorry to hear it, but that's the first sign that you're getting old if that's all you're talking about is your health. According to the research, 50 is the age that a lot of people think it's old. See, I think 50 is a young pup. I'm 83 and I still work 10, 12 hours a day and enjoy what I do. But if you take care of yourself and exercise and don't smoke, you're probably going to make it in the 80s at least in this day and time, because so much has happened in healthcare. And you're talking about heart disease killing a lot of people. Heart disease, 50 years ago, you had a lot more dying because they'd have a heart attack and they didn't have open heart surgery. They didn't have the type of medicines they have now. And so you have a better chance now of living to be in your 80s or even 90s. And that as we live longer, it creates a little more problem for Social Security and Medicare because people are doing so well. The most in demand degrees coming out in this day and time, number one's finance. And I say that proudly, that's what I majored in. And I thought maybe, if I don't make it to law school, maybe I can be a banker. Finance is a good degree. It was number one. Mechanical engineering was number 2, and that is a hard course. Thermodynamics. Rex Tillerson told me that he had a couple of professors at the University of Texas that helped him get through thermodynamics. It's hard and very difficult. And then they have computer science, then accounting. Accounting's always strong. We had a regent that would stand next to me, and he'd say, "Have you got a job?" And we were going through the business school. And, "Yep, I've got a job. I'm doing this." And And then he got to the arts and sciences, and the philosophy majors came through. You got a job? Nope. You got a job? Nope. I'm going to graduate school. I mean, I said, hey, philosophy's not hiring this year. That's something you want to ask the nursing students or the business students if you got a job, or engineering. They're always going to say, yeah, I've got a job.
Reminds me of when Marco Rubio was running for president, and he gave a speech, and he was talking about the workforce and college degrees and the need for tradesmen. And he said, we need less philosophers and more plumbers right now.
He's right.
Trade schools are big right now.
I think he's done a great job as Secretary of State.
I agree.
He was testifying. They said, who's in charge of foreign policy? He said, the president. You know what I mean? They were trying to pin him up that he was in charge. And he said, no, I work for the president.
I have a question about something Secretary Rubio has said many, many times. I just don't understand it. He says that the United States is the only one that can bring a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Why is that?
We're the only one that have the strength to do certain things that will make it difficult if they don't reach a peace.
We're the only ones with enough weight.
Enough power, enough weight, and you talk about buying energy, buying oil, that we affect that price even if we're not buying from Russians, if we're buying from other people. And that what happened in Venezuela is a big problem for China, because that's where they were getting a lot of oil. And so that's changed. And some of the people have talked about what happened in Venezuela, and AOC talks about it. We can't just go invade a country and take over their duly elected. The guy stole the election, stole 3 of them. Yeah. He's stealing elections left and right. But they were asking Secretary Rubio about some of the money that one of the tankers that they'd captured, that they were taking $300 million of the dollar to give to Venezuela to help them, and they were taking $200 to make reparations for the companies in the United States that had products stolen from them by this very government. The Olympics was going on, and there was one story came out kind of got my attention. The Italians handed out 10,000 condoms, and they were gone in 3 days. And so they started asking the players about it and everything, and they said, and most of them said, we didn't need them. We just wanted to take them home and show people what the Italians were giving us. and I thought that was kind of funny. We also had a victory in hockey, first one since 1980, and I remember that in 1980. A lot of people won't, but it's a miracle, a miracle on ice, and was fun watching.
It was,
and that and the way it built up that year, it really got hyped and got a little bigger, and everybody was watching, and everyone was pulling for the United States. And I was trying to think yesterday the name of the reporter that was given the play-by-play.
Al Michaels.
Yeah. And went on to have a great career.
Yeah, he do you believe in miracles?
Do you believe in miracles?
Yeah.
He was saying it loud.
The women beat Canada also.
Right, I saw that. And that, the NCAA has a hockey division, and that's mostly, northern schools. And it's a big deal for some of those schools that to win the NCAA or go to the Final Four in hockey. That's a huge.
I feel like President Trump's going to have a little fun with this hockey victory over Canada. I'm curious.
He will have some things to say about it. At the first there were some of the people involved as participants in the Olympics were saying things. Well, I'm not proud of America now, they were going out of their way. They shouldn't do that. Doesn't matter who's president. They need to, you're there to ski or you're there representing your country. This is not a political debate, so they need to stay out of that. was it? I think it's Trump. Somebody came out against a basketball player, and he said he needs to shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
So that's my preference. The saying of the day: war is hell, and I hope we avoid a war in the Iranian area. But it's something well worth watching.